Hey guys, Attorney Walter Knott. I'm really excited to go ahead and talk to you today, and I want to go through a couple of things. First and foremost, I've been really sick, and I've actually been not doing law over the past couple of days, specifically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the beginnings of Thursday. I took the first phone calls from the hearing office this morning. I couldn't even do the regular hearing that I scheduled. They had to reschedule it. Now, I'm on a lot of medications, which means that for the most part, just to be fair, I will not be able to go ahead and have the same analytical, logical thinking that I traditionally do because my filters aren't on and the way I go ahead and voice things, project things are not normally as they would be because I'm on medication due to the sickness that I have, the bug that I have. I've had it. It's really bad. We're going to be going past it, though. We're going to be getting right to specifically the topic of this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews. Above all, leave 5-star reviews. They really help me compete against the mega big box firms that make tons of money doing whatever they do. All right, so could be PI, maritime, whatever. Aloha, howdy. That'd be awesome if you're actually in Hawaii. So here's the thing. There's another thing too. Before I begin this video, I just want to thank all the people that call in. I do really appreciate it. I do really appreciate all the people that are interacting with me and doing things. It's just so cool. The other thing is that I've had a bunch of celebrities over the past couple of months reach out and or their kids of celebrities or their grandparents of celebrities, and they've reached out and said, hey, you really helped me with this, and do you know who I am? And I'm like, that sounds really familiar. But it's a reoccurring thing, and it's just neat, nifty. It's just awesome. So anyways, the only bitching I have to do is that while I was sick, I purchased some Plus Puff lotion. When I was a kid growing up, these things had real lotion on them. I don't mean to be mean about this, but these, nothing. You can look, it does not nothing. I'm still shiny. I'm not good. Yeah. When I was a kid, if you wiped one of those on your face, you could go in the Florida sun, lay on your back for 4 hours and not get a single stroke of sun on your face. All right, let's get right to the video. Today, we're going to be talking about the history of VA benefits. One of the really cool things is that I applied for my certification to do the VA benefits. They approved the certification. I'm really excited about it. But while that was all happening, I was so sick I could not even function. Let's get right to the history right now. Here we go. In the very beginning of VA benefits. Now, a lot of you, let's split it up. First thing you need to know is that there are Social Security Administration benefits. You can think of these as civilian benefits, or just what everybody calls them, their Social Security benefits. Then on the other side of the fence, you have these compensations, these pensions for those who are part of the military with a particular, I'm going to use more civilian-y terms for people to understand, release from the military, right? So a lot of you, honorable versus less than honorable, things like that. And I'll go into more videos about that. But let's just say there's these pensions and compensations that exist over in this land. We've talked about the history of these. Now we're going to talk about the history of this. While we're sick, here we go. The following statement may sound bizarre. Keep in mind, I can barely talk, or severe to you, and it hurts when I swallow. But it's actually true. And many of the great people that defend our liberties, the men and the women, ultimately, they're fighting usually a war that began, like in the very beginnings of time, over some sort of grievance related to power or assets or the ego of somebody. And the reality of that is that it continues through to today. And what we see is that there's this evolving necessity that happens with government. Government says, I need humans to fight my battles. I need them to put their lives on the line to go out there and basically achieve a success in a situation where I know that there's probably going to be a negative thing that occurs. Let's talk about that. VA benefits, like in the very early times, had to do with a lot of wealthy, powerful individuals, okay? And these wealthy, powerful individuals, they had assets. They wanted protection for the acquisition of more things or to keep the things that they already had. Imagine the upper billionaires of today wearing more richly colored and textured textiles than a boring wool suit, okay? Throw some accessories in there like a fancy stick with gold on it, and imagine people bowing before them. That was the earliest times, even before Egyptians, that a lot of people think too of pharaohs. Even before a lot of that, there was this structure, okay? But we need to now break this down as to when VA benefits actually began in history, because it's important to understand where we're at today, which is a heavily evolving thing. These are extremely heavily evolving. Okay, so these educated, wealthy people during the blossoming and herbiciding of the Sumerian cities, okay, Sumerian cities period, became worried about internal issues and external aggressors, right? Potential warfare. So what do you do when you need protection beyond a militia? The answer is the first standing army. And this is important. We have to understand who these players are and be very genuine about our approach to it so that we have a deeper understanding than just it's for patriotism, it's for honor. They are, especially for the person that's serving. And that's an amazing, amazing aspect of this. But we have to understand who these players are throughout the entire chessboard. Now let's talk about this real quick. Sumerian Empire, right? So a militia, that's where you hire a group of people. They handle things. It's more loosely pulled together. It is not a traditional standing army. Why do you need more than a militia? This is because the more benefits a professional standing army has, the more likely people will sign up for the program, and the less likely they will desert that same program. This sounds odd to say that VA benefits started with, wealthy individuals being afraid, but it has echoed through time in a similar fashion, whether it was a noble or an emperor that required the assistance of great men and women. Okay, very, very important. Now, a standing army. Around 2250 BC, before Common Era or BC, the founder, because I know BC, things like that, you guys know that stuff as well, but BCE, before Common Era, if you were, educated, back when I was or older, the founder of the Akkadian Empire formed a permanent or standing army of around 100,000 soldiers. That's what they think, that's what they believe. They're not totally sure, but that could be correct. This is the first permanent army that we think we know of that likely contained non-militia status, that likely had some sort of benefits attributed to their professional status as a military rank and file member. Important words there, rank and file member. This is tricky, and I say rank and file with meaning because rank and file means ordinary members, not the brass, not the high-ups. So basically, in the very beginning, the brass, the high-ups, those individuals would be part of an elite upper executive group that would then order around the militias. But we can't look at that as just the VA benefits because VA benefits represent more than just benefits for the brass. It represents benefits for all of the military personnel, from the bottom position all the way to the 5-star, okay? Now that we know that, essentially, we need to have a standing army, a professional group of people who are consistently paid to do the job of being in the army, professional soldiers, professional warriors. We also need to have something that includes the executives all the way through the rank and file. Okay. So likely the first VA benefits were for the leaders pre-2250 BCE. However, a standing army took place around 2250 BC, and as a result, that is what we attribute to when VA benefits truly started, because it included the leaders and the rank and file, and as a result, we started to see the evolution of benefits. All right, we're going to skip over the other militaries that had benefits go to the pre-formation of the United States. Some books on the subject call this the Organic Era, where in 1620, the Mayflower Compact, prior to the departure of the Mayflower ship, established some basic VA benefits. And by 1736, the local government established, 1636, the local government established arguably the most used and known VA benefit, being maimed soldiers to be maintained. This is important. This is important because it promised a lifetime care for the injured veterans. There is no lifetime care for civilians. We were looking at that at the 2020, election cycle. Should we have Medicare for all, right? That was the idea. But way before, over 100 years before, we even had the U.S. Constitution being brought forward, there was the idea put in place that maimed soldiers were to be maintained. It's crazy. It's just like, who thinks of that early on? They did. So if maimed within the capacity of you doing your soldiering duties, and the colony would medically treat you for life. Makes sense, right? Plymouth in 1636 also provided money to those disabled in the colony's defense against Indians. Remember, it was a very different time back then. In 1676, an injured veteran appealed for benefits, and the Massachusetts Bay Colony Court created a committee to review these appeals. This is important. 1676, you've actually got an appealing body. You can take it up some steps. That's amazing. That's just incredible. 1678 showed Maryland providing pensions to widows and minor children for the slain in the service of this province. Very interesting. Then there was the French Indian War from 54 to 64. As you can see, war was common back then, just like our civilized nations of today. Here. So then 1775 happened, being a battle with the British at Lexington and Concord. Think pointy AR-15 muskets, infantry minutemen, and square buildings with farm roofs. This was the year before the Declaration of Independence with the Second Continental Congress. We won that battle with the British, but it was a red field scenario. That weighed heavily on both sides. If you don't know what a red field scenario is, it's where wherever you stepped, there was red. Okay? And not a good situation. Very different times, of course. They had horse-drawn carriages that went around to collect the bodies. The cavalry was literally a cavalry where you could donate apples and carrots pre-internet. Pretty cool. June 20th of 1776 saw the creation of the first National Committee for Veterans Benefits. Then August 26th of 1776, Congress created the first national pension system for injured and disabled veterans called the Pension Law, where they guaranteed half pay for life for all disabled veterans regardless of rank or level of disability. This also included large bounty land warrants, which was used as a means to get people to enlist. It's smart. Give people land, give them money, and they will be happy. Something we don't do on the civilian side and the military side anymore, because we don't give out land, obviously. The last one for 160 acres, which when you think about it, that's a lot of land. 160 acres was given in 1855. So imagine owning 160 acres. So imagine your quarter-acre HOA home in the middle of 160 acres. And take your time. Imagine that. Let it come into focus. I know you can feel the burning sun of the McDonald's arches on your face. Just push them away. And now you're in the middle of 160 acres. That's yours for serving the military. Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. Although, remember, back then, it was pretty rough. These AR-15 pointy muskets, or the style of war, was pretty rough. This looks good, but apparently they didn't pay the veterans as promised at one point during this whole system, which is why Shays' rebellion occurred, which resulted in part from the denied promised pensions. In 1789, being 2 years after Shays' rebellion, Congress codified invalid pensions, now known as disability compensation for service-connected injuries. That's sweetie. I'll have to bring her in at some point soon. By the way, guys, if you are chatting away, my apologies. Wow, look at that. De jure is still out. Thank you, $5. Philip Price, thank you, $19.99. Sorry, guys, I wasn't part of the chat session there because I was kind of going through my script with everything I was reading out. So is there going to be a resurrection act? I come back to the comments, and that's the first thing I see. All right, let me go through this script, and then we'll get back to those questions of will there be a resurrection act, ascension or act. I think you said act there. All right. During 1800 to 1900, the federal government worked out many of the modern judicial docket systems, created the service pension system, which did not require a service-connected injury. A pension office was created. Oh, and lest we forget, the Civil War began on April 12th, 1861. So between 1800 and 1900, right there, April 12th, 1861. It's hard to imagine that only 160 years ago from 2022, right? So from this year, 160 years ago, Lincoln was asking for militia, Army regulars, and some of the bloodiest battles that would ever take place between brothers over land, lifestyle, and money. It's hard to believe that's 160 years ago. That's it. In 1873, the Consolidated Act did exactly that. It consolidated all the prior veterans benefits laws as the feds prepared for a surge of post-war claims. In 1890, President Benjamin Harrison pushed the Disability Pension Act, which opened up the service-connected disability options to any injury, even if it was not service-connected. This became, oh, sweetie's becoming egregious. Let me go get it real quick. I'll be right back, guys. Hold on 1 sec. All right, here we go. Sweetie, there you go. All right, guys, so let's go through that real quick again. This became expensive because the VA benefit cost more than the wars that were being fought. And what happened was this Disability Pension Act, it opened up basically service-connected disabilities to any injury. And they were just approving anything that came by, and it became very expensive. This actually caused the end of the organic era, which then takes us to the pre-modern era, being from 1900 forward. President Roosevelt in 1904 issued old age disability benefits. Then when you obtain 62, you are disabled 1/2 in the ability to perform manual labor. Congress validated it as the old age pension just 3 years later. Now, 1970 saw the disability rating schedule that we use today, and the distinction between officer and enlisted was ended. So everybody was on equal standing with that. Keep in mind, they were still passing laws for specific wars as this happened. So they create a body of laws for a specific war that was about to happen or a specific war that had just ended. They didn't really have it figured out at this point, but they were getting much closer to what we have nowadays. Remember, this was like 1970. This is before Social Security benefits were really coming into existence. You know, they really came into existence in 1930, 1950, and 1970s era. That was their big jumps. This is all before that. The next year, in 1918, the launch of the Vocational Rehabilitation Program that trained disabled veterans for new employment opportunities came into existence. Much of the time after this was spent consolidating the laws that were created until 1933. Remember the Great Depression? That was from 1929 to 1939, which created huge cuts to veteran benefits. And it limited the appeal option after the VA made their decision. So you couldn't appeal it up. They cut it off. You couldn't take it into like the higher district circuit, blah, 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 you know, the higher federal court. They have different names for that, but that you couldn't take it up. They cut it off. It took all the way until 1988 before the VA would open their decisions to the appellate review by the courts. It's interesting to note, however, how America handled VA benefits when a war was coming and the need for soldiers was great. The benefits and laws were very pro-soldier when a war was coming up or a war had just started. 1933 was bad for veterans, but lurking in the darkness came December 7th, 1941. 353 Japanese planes made their mark on Pearl Harbor, thereby emphasizing the need for soldiers and the promises of greater benefits. 1944, you guessed it, the GI Bill of Rights that elevated the VA to an essential war agency, and many of the best rights, including home and loan options, were codified. In 1946, Congress made a more clear distinction between service pensions and disability compensation. We're almost done, thank goodness. 1979 saw vet centers being created, meaning local mental health facilities. And then 91 saw the Agent Orange Act. I'm losing my voice again. The VA was then elevated to an independent agency in the modern era under Title 38 of the U.S. Code. All right, so here's the deal, guys. I'm super sick. I'm just going to go straight to answering questions. I know, all right, so here we go. I was going to do this no matter what, so if you see me kind of sweaty and having a good time, that means we're having a good time. I'm now going to open up the calling, which will give me a little bit of break to breathe. I didn't even get to finish the script. That's okay. You can call that phone number. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and catch up with you guys. I'll answer whatever questions you have about disability benefits. And then we'll get rolling. So I'm going to open this up real quick. Okay. While that's happening, I'll do like the small little outro here. What you need to know about this is that the Veterans Claims Assistance Act of 2000 established the VA's duty to assist veterans with their application for benefits. This is important because the idea that there is a VA and a person just coming out of some military conflict, having difficulty, and not having the benefit of a military program to assist them, this was unconscionable for the VA. And so as a result, unlike the Social Security Administration, the VA created this necessity to assist veterans with their application process. And as a result of that, we now know, and I'll take this phone call, why the VA benefits are so special is because of their way of assisting veterans to apply. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live on YouTube. I'm running out of steam a little bit because I am sick today, but remember to use a fake name. Can I help you answer a specific question, or would you like to run hearing questions?
Yeah, a specific question.
Okay, good sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm 8 months in the process of SSDI application.
Mm-hmm.
And I've received notice that I need to attend a medical exam, a CE exam.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted to know is what does all that entails. Like I said, it's my first thing, the first process on the SSDI application.
Okay, no problem. So basically, let's go through the bit. You're going to be going in front of a physical and mental, or just a mental CE, a physical CE? Which ones are you going in front of?
It has the name of the clinic. It says chiropractor and neurology, but they didn't state in the letter what kind of exam.
Okay, but I mean, to make it that sounds like it's a physical. There's no psychiatrist, psychologist, etc. That's part of that division, correct?
Right. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be physical. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right, cool. So we know that this is going to be an examination where they're reviewing mostly musculoskeletal. They're checking to see essentially what's going on. Let's start with the basics. What do you know, and what are things that you've heard? Let's go through that.
Well, I hear different things. That this is basically just the first initial exam. It may take anywhere from 20, 30 minutes. It's basically just asking questions and letting them know your limitations or your physical impairments.
Okay, so real quick, let's go through some of the basics of what you feel are your limitations. What are your limitations? Talk me through your top 5 impairments.
My top 5 impairments are PTSD, anxiety, depression, lower back pain, the lumbar spine, migraines. I get panic attacks, sleep apnea. I use a CPAP machine, and I do have hypertension and stomach issues. That was more than 5. Sorry about that.
What do you feel is your most severe physical impairment?
The most severe would have to be PTSD, anxiety.
So that would be a mental impairment. What's your most severe physical impairment?
Lower back pain.
Okay. Why do you have lower back pain?
Well, I believe I suffered that injury while I was in service, but I have a bulging disc and what they also call lumbar spine.
Yep. Sure. Okay. So, all right. So basically, talk to me about where in your back. I mean, we're talking at the hip level, lower back, middle spine. Where are we? Yeah.
Yeah, lower back on the right side. Lower.
Okay. So you have a tough time walking, correct?
Yes, I do have a cane. I have a walker. I do have a shower assistant.
Okay, so how far can you walk unassisted without those devices?
Without those devices, I could probably walk anywhere from 5 or 6 car lengths. Prius.
Okay, 5 or 6 car lengths. Okay. When you go to this appointment, they're going to be doing a physical review to see basically if you have the capacity to do walking, standing, straight leg test, sitting down. Can you roll? Can you move your body? Tell me, why would you have a tough time doing a basic job like a Walmart greeter?
Well, I only can stand for 15 minutes. Then I have to sit down. I'm not able to reach or bend down without causing, pain. And I have to change positions every 15 minutes to 20 minutes. I take several medications that give me the side effects. I have to use the bathroom at least once or twice every 2 hours.
Keep going.
Yes.
Keep going.
It just would be hard for me to try to do those tasks without causing pain. And also, because I suffer from migraines as well, basically, when I do get one on my worst days, the migraines, basically I have to lay down for at least anywhere from 2 to 12 to 14 hours at a time, sometimes depending on the severity of the migraine. And I'm sensitive to light, sensitive to sound, and sometimes I even have symptoms of nausea and vomiting as well.
Okay. So just so I understand fully, did you notice that moment there where you slowed down because you weren't sure what to add, what you needed to talk about, things like that?
Yes.
All right, you're going to face that moment a couple of times when you're in that room. Some of the things they're going to do are simple. They're just physical movement tests. These doctors are well known for being quick to touch, as I like to put it. And that's just people calling into the background. But what you need to know is basically this. As people, go into these offices to interact with these doctors, the doctors will usually have them walk behind them. The doctor will hurry up, get to the room quickly, and then watch the person try to catch up with them. One of the first things you need to know is that you have no obligation to tuttle faster to catch up with the doctor. That you need to go there with your prescribed, ambulatory devices. Now let's run this again real quick before I give you some more tips. Walk me through specifically what happens, why you could not do a job like a security monitor personnel at, like, for example, a shopping center at night. Tell me why you couldn't do that job due to your impairments, but just focus on the physical impairments.
Well, like I said, I cannot stand for no more than 15 to 20 minutes at a time. My walking has limitation as well. I can only walk, but 5 or 6 car lengths. I'm not able to reach or bend. Also, I have very poor concentration. I forget stuff. And I also have to able to use the restroom at least every 2 hours.
Okay. Let's try it again. A little bit more detail as to how you'd have to sit, change positions, have difficulty in what parts of your body. What kind of pain would you feel when interacting with others? Would you have a difficult time reaching for things to hand them things? Walk me through it.
Yes. Again, I cannot sit for no more than 15, 20 minutes at a time. because it causes pain on my lower back that runs down to my right side of the leg. As far as me reaching, I cannot reach because the pain of when I do try to reach for something or bend down, the pain is unbearable, and sometimes it causes me to fall.
Okay.
And I have to switch positions. You can sit up or stand, sit down or stand up every 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay. God, I'm having everything going on today. I got my dogs still having a pissing battle over there, and everybody's going. And I got yeah. But all right. So let's refocus this thing onto you going to this meeting. When you go in there, and you have to keep in mind the phone keeps ringing every couple of seconds. You know what I'm going to do? Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to distribute some of the dog treats. While I'm doing that, though, what I'd like you to do is try this one more time, but with a specific job. This job is a little bit tougher. Why would you have a hard... Well, let me ask you this. What was the job that you did the longest within the past 15 years?
I was a correction officer.
Okay, excellent. Now, that's a job that requires a lot of physical animation, interaction, things like that. Tell me why you would not be able to do the functions of that job. Think about what you did when you got there in the morning and what you did throughout the day.
Yeah, the first thing I had to do was basically get my equipment, radio, had a duty belt, handcuffs. That all has put weight on the belt, on the duty belt. Then I had to walk to the supervisor's office and get a kind of like a roll call, get what they call like information passed down. Then I had to walk to the units where the inmates were being housed, and that was at least, depending anywhere from 50 to 100 yards, depending, what housing unit I was walking to. And once I get there, I basically had to have accountability of the inmates, do a walkthrough. So there was a lot of standing, walking, the first 15 minutes to 30 minutes to start the shift.
Okay. So, understanding your walking limitations, how far do you think you could walk before you'd have to stop and rest?
If just about 5 or 6 car lengths.
Okay. And how long is a standard Prius?
How long is the Prius?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. 1 to 3 feet? No, it can't be that. But
no, it'd be like 16,
4
17.
4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, here, I'll look it up real quick. Length of Prius. Now, you want to know that because they're going to ask you how far you can walk. Of course, they put it in inches. Looks like, hold on, in feet. So let's see, length 180 in feet. So around 15 feet. All right, so if you had to walk that distance, how long would you have to rest for after stopping due to the pain in order to go ahead and walk that distance again?
I would say 75 feet.
Okay. So now after, wait, 75 feet. So you would walk basically 75 feet, then you would stop to rest. How long would you rest for in order to be able to walk 75 feet again?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. How many times could you repeat that over an 8-hour workday?
Usually, maybe after the first time, basically I don't have too much energy after that. I need to sit down.
So, okay. The idea of repetition is something that most claimants do an extremely poor job of. when they go to their CEs. The doctor will ask them, can you lift your arm? Okay, good, you can do that, you're fine. Can you do this? Can you lift your leg? Okay, can you press down on my hands? Can you push up on my hands? Okay, great, you're good at that. Okay, good, good, good. The problem inherent with that is that the doctor then writes down 5 out of 5 grip strength, 5 out of 5 this, 5 out of 5 that, full range of motion, full range of motion, full range of motion. You have to explain to the doctor why each time you have a difficult time with basically doing those functions. Because otherwise, the doctors are trained to do quick movements to check all of your body movements, weight restrictions. Can you stand? Can you kneel? Can you stoop? Can you crouch? They're going through a mini RFC. Okay, so let's talk about what happens when you go to a physical CE, specifically what they're looking for, what they're writing about, stuff like that, which is very different than a mental CE. When you go to a physical CE, they look at a whole bunch of things, but they're always based on the following categories: postural limitations, exertional limitation, and this is only for the musculoskeletal, obviously. Like if you're going there for a respiratory issue, a breathing issue, then it's a different gig. But for your back issues, these are the categories they look at: postural limitations, exertion limitations, extensional limitations, and then basically look at essentially how well you can do those functional tasks. These are broken down into things like sitting, standing, walking, bending, climbing. You know, when it comes to climbing ramps, stairs, ladders, ropes, scaffolds, reaching, you reach your left arm, right arm, above your shoulder, above your head, squatting, stooping, crawling, kneeling, crouching, balancing, lifting, carrying, pushing, pulling, handling, gross, handling with fine manipulative detail with the fingering, right? Typing on a keyboard, seizing, holding, grasping, turning, picking, pinching, feeling something. These are things that they're looking at to see what your capacity is. Specifically, though, for your back, they're looking to see how long can this guy stand? How far can this guy walk? Can this guy sit in a position consistently for the same time for an extended period? 15 minutes? 30 minutes? How long has he been sitting there and hasn't changed positions? When the doctor gets up, does the doctor notice? Yes, seriously, thank you again, Caffeine, nature's natural stimulant. Indeed. Thank you for the $5 donation. So basically, what the doctor is there to do is to summarize an RFC analysis in a very short period of time for a rather small amount of payment from the Social Security Administration, where that doctor will see claimant after claimant after claimant, claimant after claimant after claimant for that day. These doctors almost always now, it didn't always used to be this way a long time ago, like 15 years ago it wasn't like this, but almost always these doctors only work for government agencies. They don't see patients usually. Some of them do, but a lot of them, it's just for government work. Like it's not their patient. It's usually all government work, you know. So let's run this again. Now that you know that, now that you know the whole repetition gig, I want to ask you, what would be the toughest things for you to do at your old job?
My old job would have to be walking, standing, climbing stairs, reaching, bending, lifting, even to carry the equipment on me, you know, with the duty belt. I'm not able to do that now. Even, you know, that's all physical, but mentally as well, I won't be able to do certain things.
Okay. So now let's talk about some strategy things. Are you going to drive yourself there?
No.
Okay, who's going to drive you?
My fiance.
Okay. So is she going to drop you off on time? Is she going to drop you off early, late? What's going to happen?
She's going to drop me off on time.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this. When it comes to, you know, what if you get there and there's stairs? What are you going to do?
I'm just gonna have to see if there's a way to go in, or find a what's that, a ramp.
Okay. So you're going to look for a ramp, you're going to look for some sort of elevator, you're going to look for some sort of place where you can go ahead and get assistance. That makes sense. What happens when you run into somebody who's really chatty, trying to help you, trying to get a smile out of you? You going to open up to that person?
No, I'm going to tell them I'm having a bad day.
Okay. When you get to the reception, you're smiling, having a good time, talking with other people in the reception area. Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
That's a bad idea.
Why is it a bad idea?
Well, I don't want them to make it feel that I'm not going through, I'm not suffering. There's no pain. I don't want them to get the idea that everything is okay when it's not okay.
Okay. When the doctor comes out and says your name, then walks back through the door, and then you have to make it through that door that just closed, make it down the hallway and into a room that doctor just entered into, are you going to try and hurry up?
No, I'm just gonna make it through that door with the same pace, along with my cane, that I'm able to.
Okay. So, and help me understand this. When you're in that room and the doctor is quickly going through things with you, saying, okay, cool, you can do that, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this, what are you going to say to the doctor?
I'm going to say, yes, I'm able to do that, but with limitations, or if I continue to do it repetitionally, I'm not able to do it. I have to rest. I have to take, deep breaths. I may have to stand up.
Okay. So help me understand this a little bit. When it comes to, the time to leave the doctor, if the doctor doesn't really seem like they've been writing things down, if the doctor doesn't really seem like they've been listening to what you were saying, what are you going to do after you leave the doctor's office?
Well, I don't know if that part. I don't know if it's a good thing to challenge them. Because then who knows if they're testing, to see if I have an attitude, or they just, testing my memory. So the only thing I could just do is just get up and walk away.
Okay. So, all right, a quick question. Are you represented by somebody like some attorney, non-legal rep, a friend, family member, anybody?
Yes.
Okay.
An attorney.
Okay. So what would happen at that point is if anything bad happened, the attorney would do what's called like a post-CE debriefing form sent to the SSA, which would notify the SSA as to the bad conduct of the medical doctor, where something went wrong or did not, happen in a proper way, manner, or form. And as a result of that, the SSA would then have to take that notice and then pass it on to the medical doctor. And then from there, what would happen is, they would do an assessment as to whether or not the weight of the evidence should be reduced as a result of what happened during your meeting with that doctor. Okay, so let's go through some of the basic things too. If you were to get there early, right, you would go ahead and sit there. And if they were to go ahead and say to you, hey, you know what, we have to cancel your appointment today, what are you going to do?
I'm just going to write it down. And that's it. I don't think I have any rights. I'll contact my lawyer to let them know they canceled.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Yeah, don't throw a hissy fit, because then it makes it harder to get another one, because then that facility won't see you again. Let's say that this doctor is essentially highly biased against you. You said something that they didn't like, could be a religious thing, could be anything. You tell your attorney that you want a new CE. What do you also tell your attorney?
If I tell my attorney that I know I'm requesting a new C exam by a different doctor because I know his wife.
Okay, so you basically said that you intend to go ahead and request a new CE exam by a different doctor, which is the crucial part of this whole thing, by a different doctor. So that's the whole big thing that you have to do here, is make sure that you're going to be going and seeing a different doctor at that point. Now, can you tell me, all right, so here's kind of the thing, because keep in mind, a lot of the disability attorneys out there don't do the stuff that we do, and they run a very cheap, run-of-the-mill, run the claimant through the process. They don't bring up what happened at the CE appointment. They're not worried about it. It is what it is. And that's a problem, because that's a very biased point that I've found that's problematic for claimants, where they'll be going through this process. The CE doctor will come and say, well, they're not so bad. And then poof, all of a sudden on the record now, they've got a specialist that's against them that says they're not really severe, they're not really moderate, they're mild to moderate. So what I would say is this. Well, all right, before I go into that, do you have any questions for me about essentially the CE visit? Anything specific that I missed out on that you'd like to know about?
Am I allowed to take? I did a journal of all my impairments. Kind of like a daily journal, as well as with my migraines. Is there any way I can take that, just in case? Not that to show them, but just to look at it.
Yeah, you can bring in notes. You can bring in prior medical records. You can bring in a notepad to fill things out. Wow, Leanne, thank you so much. I know I've been passing out puppy treats right now like crazy. Thank you so much for the $20 donation. I really, really appreciate it. That's incredibly nice of you, and thank you. Good sir, let me you tell me again, what questions do you have for me at all pertaining to the CE process?
No, again, that was all, from the beginning. And, I appreciate you taking your time. I know you're not feeling well.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just trying to see if what all entails with the, and that's, like I said, that's my first exam with the initial process. So just trying to get a feel.
Absolutely, good sir. And a very important thing to keep in mind too is that a lot of VA guys tend to have mostly records from the VA hospital, and as a result, it doesn't always tend to be as favorable for the claimant as if they had kind of a third-party insured individual looking at them. So one thing to just keep in mind throughout this process is to kind of have a diversity of those doctors that you're going to, not only just like who they are, could be a specialist, could be a psychologist versus a psychiatrist, could be a pain specialist versus, somebody that just focuses on that part of the back. Don't be afraid to build the hell out of everything right now, because it is the most important part before you potentially get a denial. And if you have a CE appointment coming up, then you're in the very final stages before you get a decision, which means that you're running out of time for really doing any big maneuvers,
Yeah, I have copies of all my records for the last year, medications, business cards from each doctor I visit, VA and non-VA. So I'm hoping to, to show that to them, at least to let them know I'm not just, seeing one doctor.
Perfect. Well, sounds good, sir. I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and grab the next caller. You have a wonderful night.
Yeah, appreciate it. Have a good night. And again, I hope you feel better. And thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, good sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Excellent, guys. That was really good. Wow, Benny Hill, thank you. That was that's like, wow. That's a lot of people are donating, and that I appreciate it, guys. I really do. And I love I'm not sure what the thing is doing, but I love it. It's like a little, like, samurai dog. I love like a little Shibu samurai. That's so cool. I love that. All right, so we had somebody who basically kept calling a million times over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and call them now to see if we can go ahead and get them on the phone and see what's going on here. So let me see if I can get that person real quick. And this is a much better speed than me doing the script. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. So I got a bunch of phone calls from this phone number. Are you looking to go ahead and do the Disability Live channel? Okay, perfect. So we are going to go live right now. So real quick, would you like me to go ahead and run a hearing question with you, or would you like me to go ahead and run just a general question, whatever you have with, that you come up with, and remember to use a fake name throughout this process, okay?
Okay. I have a specific question.
Sure.
I'm Amelia, and I'm on SSI.
Okay.
But first, I'd like to say that I absolutely adore and appreciate you. I feel like you're the most intelligent, honest person on YouTube, probably.
Wow.
And
Thank you.
I like all the work you've done with the farm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. The farm. So much work. I have like PTSD from that farm. And I got to go back there in like a month and a half too to like keep working it. But oh my goodness, like, and you guys only get to see you get to see only the safe things I do. So.
Right, and you always look so tired when you're up there, and I'm like, how do you even do it?
Oh God, I hear you. It's just been. It was one of those things like and that was the funny thing too, is that the most fun, crazy moments that I had at the farm last time were cutting down these trees that had already like quasi fallen. So they're the most dangerous, half rotten trees. And like, I wish I could have used that footage to show you guys, because I could have made these like giant boom videos out of it. But it's just, it's the internet does not approve of double whatchamacallit, sawing of a tree at once. They frown on sawtoothing with two I can't remember the name of chainsaws at once. They don't like that. So anyways, Madam, how can I help you? What question do you have?
Okay, I think it's fairly straightforward. So I'm on SSI.
Yeah.
And I have a pretty basic, pretty good understanding of the rules. But there's one thing I do not know. I have a grown son who lives in a different state, and he does not. Well, he's very, very busy. Mm-hmm. He does not enjoy shopping, and if he did shop, he would never get to the post office to mail anything. Okay. So I'm wondering am I allowed to accept like a Venmo money gift for Christmas, birthdays, Mother's Day, that sort of thing, or is that against the rules?
Just be careful, because the way it depends on how they look at gifts and how they calculate it, and whether it's considered income for how they want to consider it. You're allowed to basically have, and I'll pull up the SI stuff. There's the 20 rule, the 65 rule. So all right, when it comes to SSI, you are basically allowed to receive $20 plus $65, total $85, where it just doesn't count. So let me is this going to be something where this is like, okay, so most of the time when somebody sends you like a gift of cash for SSI purposes, it's automatically assumed to be a form of income to you. And it's something that's almost always countable. And as a result of, this counted yet unearned income, right? It hurts you, because anything over that $85, like every $2 over $85, they take away $1 from your benefits. And SSI people, go ahead.
Would that be $85 per month?
Yeah, it's just per month. Yeah. So.
Okay. So, if he sent me $85 in December and 85 and, May for Mother's Day. And so that would be okay, or 84 or whatever.
Yeah, like if he's sending you
Would
only
that keep it?
$85, per month, you're allowed that. You're allowed to have that kind of, transaction going on. There's triggering elements like
Okay.
$970 is a triggering element for SSI. The problem with SSI is that there's no trial work period, so you don't get that as a buffer as well. That's just really an SSDI gig. So the other problem with SSI is that they're very quick to review those types of claims. And if they see too many months where you're earning over, they're quick to trigger a CDR. But the first $85 per each month, it doesn't count. Like you're good to go. And that's because the 20 rule and the 65 rule. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I
Good
mean,
to know. Thank you so much.
yeah. Are we talking about larger amounts or just like $85 a month kind of gig?
No. Yeah, just like small. I think you sent me $100 once, but no, it's usually like Happy Mother's Day. Here's $40, or maybe $60 or something like that. Just holiday gifts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
goodness, yeah. But to him, that's a lot better than shopping, and I kind of like it too because then I can buy something I'd actually like. So.
The only one thing to watch out for, and this is more of a complex tax thing, and I'm not a tax attorney, but there was one SSI person that I knew that went from earning hardly any money, and then he got into, earning money, like he made a store thing, and out of nowhere, because he got into the vaping market, he made a ton of money, and it was important for their calculations how it was counted, not just how the SSA views it for SSI non-earned countable income, but also it was important for the IRS and specifically how they looked at prior gifts that the person had received. So it would be good if your son included in the message to you that was purely a gift for all legal purposes. Because it's not necessarily, it's not going to help you with SSA, but it's more so going to help you with the IRS in case all of a sudden you start making larger amounts of money.
Okay, yeah, he does that. He labels it gift.
Good. Well, excellent. Well, Madame, that sounds good. Any additional questions for me?
No, that was it. Thank you so very much for taking my call or for calling me back.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, good, guys. We're doing okay. We're definitely a little bit out of breath, but here we go with the next call. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. Remember to use a fake name. Would you like me to run hearing questions with you or answer a specific question? Go ahead.
I have a specific question.
Okay.
I had my hearing on Friday, and I was a little confused with the VE questions that the judge gave.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I had a job, and they didn't really go through whether I could do it or not, so I was kind of confused. I'm assuming they're thinking I can't because they went from a manager position to like a clerk position.
Uh-huh.
I guess saying I could do that, or I'm not sure, because then they said it was light was the manager position, and then light was the clerk position, so the VE changed her mind.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of weird. And then, in the very end, they said there was no transferable skills, so I was confused.
Okay.
If I could do the position or not, because they didn't really say it. And then, yeah, so I was kind of confused on that part. And then the hypothetical questions,
mm-hmm.
I was a little confused on that.
Okay.
They asked for, but yeah, anyway.
All right. Now, grid rules can be a little bit, and that's basically what this comes down. How old are you currently?
I'm 52.
All right. So we're looking at basically.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm 51. I'll be 52. Sorry. I'm still 51.
Okay, cool. So what we're looking at is basically somebody who's a closely approaching advanced age. When we go to the grids, they're doing a grid out for vocational purposes to look at essentially, did you have skilled, semi-skilled, did you have no skilled work, etc. Was it transferable or not transferable with those skills to doing a job that's similar? So let's run it. They had a higher level manager job, and then they proffered as a hypothetical a lower version of that job, correct?
Yes. And they both, at first she said the manager position was light and that the clerk position was, I guess, sedentary.
Mm-hmm.
But then when she looked it up, she said, "Oh no, they're both light," and so the conversation kind of flipped. That's where I was kind of confused. But of course, I didn't interrupt. I just let them go, right?
Okay. So the judge probably asked a question about sedentary work, as to whether or not you, as an individual, could do only a sitting job. And could you not do a sitting job? Because when you look at the jobs as they line up on this, how hard they are, at the very top of them are very heavy jobs, very heavy lifting. At the very bottom are sedentary jobs. So very heavy, medium, light, and then sedentary. So the way it works is we don't really worry about the very heavy, or even the medium for the most part. We just worry about the light and the sedentary jobs. And what they were looking at is the judge probably asked a question: could this hypothetical person potentially do this, sedentary job? And then the vocational expert probably then gave a job that was a light job and not a sedentary job, which the judge then said, okay, cool. Well, let's just do the lights hypothetical then to check. Because for people between 50 and 55, the judge will almost always do an analysis specifically for light and also for sedentary. And that's just based on the rules. It'll take me too long to explain why, but just, for people between 50 and 55, expect them to do a light analysis and a sedentary. All right, so let's play this out like it happened at the actual hearing. So you're closely approaching advanced age because you're between 50 and 55. So that means we're going to be in the light category of work because that's what the job came up as. You said it was skilled or semi-skilled, but with not transferable work, correct?
Yeah, she said no skills transfer.
Okay, so skills not transferable. So if this was a 202.1, closely approaching advanced age, no, but that's limited or less education. So we've got to scroll down even farther. What's your highest level of education?
High school.
High school, cool. So 202.13, closely approaching advanced age, that's you, 50 to 55. High school graduate or more, that's you. Let's see. Now, this was skilled or semi-skilled, not transferable. So actually, we got to scroll down one more to 202.14. Closely approaching advanced age, 50 to 55, that's you. High school graduate or more, that's you. Skilled or semi-skilled, not transferable skill, that means not disabled. So they found that you were not disabled under the 202.14 metric for light work. Now, did they do one for sedentary?
They didn't. They just went on to hypothetical. I have spondylolisthesis and I had fusion. I have all type of restrictions on sitting and standing. So they kind of went through all the questions you kind of was going through earlier with the gentleman. How long can I stand? How far can I walk? And then I had to explain how I have to get up and walk around to relieve some of the pain. And if I do that more than a few times a day, then I'll have to lie down. I went through the whole spiel. So then when she said no skills transfer, she did say there was no job. There was no, she said there's no skills that transfer. That's all she wrote.
Okay, so no skill that transfers is different than no jobs in the national economy. No skills that transfer basically means that they're looking at a grid out review. No jobs in the national economy means potential vocational allowance review. Vocational allowance is where there's no jobs that you could potentially do in the DOT, Dictionary of Occupational Titles, and including the SEO, Selected Characteristics. But the point is this: there's no jobs that you could potentially do at all in their big book. That's a good one to get, vocational allowance.
Well, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't. She couldn't. She only gave that one scenario that I could do. And then when it was both light, that's like when I said it kind of flipped, and that's when I got confused. I was like, what are they talking about? I'm confused.
Now, there's another thing, too. When they went on to do additional hypotheticals, they probably limited your abilities, right? So they started talking about, well.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, that was the first one. It was like what I would call a generic hypothetical, someone my age, and then they go through all the breathing and not stepping on scaffolding and kind of, like me, but not really me. Me
right.
at a better state. And then the second one, because of my not being able to stand and sit and walk, I have all those limitations.
Right.
And I have to take unscheduled breaks, like maybe 2 to 3 times an hour, a day, 2 to 3 times a day, unscheduled. The vocational expert said no, there's no jobs. and I do have to do that. I have to get up, get to relieve the pain from my back, change positions, leave my, go to the bathroom, stuff like that. So that was number 2. And so she said no. And then she came up with an adjusted hypothetical of number 1, which sounded more like me, that I couldn't carry more than, I can't carry 10 pounds. I know I said I carry maybe about 5 pounds at max, because I know I can't carry because of the back issue. I know better than not to carry. And then I don't bend ever. I just told her I don't, because I know it can tweak my back. So I do other things. Like, I'll get down on my knees, like very strange things I have to do, but that I know I have to do. And then, like, the 4th hypothetical, which I did have representation, which I would recommend anybody listening to this call, no matter how good you think your case is, to get it, because I'm so glad I did. But even though it was last minute, I actually got it the day before my first hearing, which was changed. Anyway, do it, because just do it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Money is so not worth the anxiety level that I was having. And they know they can help you, because she just asked one question. That's all my lawyer asked. Well, other than some questions earlier on, she just asked, and that I would miss. Well, and she said, "Oh, my hypothetical," because she didn't say me, right? Went through all the hypothetical number 3 plus missing 3 days a month of work, because that's generally how much you could potentially miss with all your ailments or all your impairments, and your medication, and that was a no. So I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of like, I've been watching all your videos in like the last few days, and I'm so impressed. I wish I watched these months ago. And I kind of wanted to know what you thought, but I kind of wanted to encourage others who are listening to please get help wherever you can, because it's for your physical and your mental health. It's so much, I don't know. Anyway, that was my question, I guess. What do you think? I mean, I know you can't tell me. It's just up to the judge, but
so
it's on the switch.
This is what I would say, keeping in mind the judge may grid you out. They may do a vocational allowance. They might do a denial. You never know which way the judge is going to lean. You have to look at the judge's percent passage rate. You have to look at what the judge was leaning towards with the questions thereafter.
Hers is in the 30s. Yeah.
That's tough. That's a tough. I mean, you get one of those judges. I doubt the SSA would allow me to be an ALJ anytime soon, because the passage rate would be in the 70s. They would like put me on TV just to be like, see.
Me too, because I can empathize with all the people that I'm listening to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so basically, what I would say is this: the things you want to focus on. If you want to ask your attorney a really good question about how did the hearing go, most attorneys will give you a BS response, which is, well, I wouldn't have taken the claim if I didn't think it was good. I hate that. I never use that. I hate that response. I don't think it's...
I actually did ask her. I got a call right after, because I hardly had any interaction with her, because she said my case was pretty good. I just had surgery in 2019. Just a whole lot of stuff. I tried to work. I ended up going out on TDI, blah, blah, blah. It's a long story, so I didn't share all of that. But basically, I asked her, how does she think it went? And she said, I think it went well. She was honest. I think but there's been cases where I think it went really well, and it wasn't the case. And she also, which I would suggest other people who are on the call also maybe should, or listening, is, she was good, because she did say, but I do have points on appeal. Like, if there's points that she didn't bring up when asking these hypotheticals that could have been asked or should have been asked. You know what I mean? So that's why I think representation is so much better, because I wouldn't have known to think of things like that.
I think one of the big things that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to disability benefits is that there is no perfect claim. There are judges, there are DDS reps who make super huge mistakes and deny claims that should go through. I've seen claims that I knew were perfect claims, and I saw one of them get denied last year. And it was an easy appeal. It was a quick win on remand, but still, it just took extra months, and it was not good. I even have a claim right now that has to go to up to district court at the federal appellate level. because basically the ALJ denied, the AAJ denied. And the most crazy thing about it is that the judge's CE doctor said that the claimant was disabled, and she still denied him. So
Oh, wow.
I was just
Wow,
like,
yeah,
I was like, you know, what are you doing? You know, so yeah, I was blown away. But it happens, you know. So one of the things I would like to proffer to you is that when it comes to the outro of, you know, what did the attorney think, stuff like that, what I always like to do with my claimants, and I get in trouble sometimes for doing it because sometimes I'll be too honest with them, and then they'll go into freak out worry mode because they'll know what I'm thinking. And what I'm thinking is, here's the gray room, here's where it could go bad, here's where the judge could tunnel their energy with the decision, and then it could go bad. And so I get in trouble with that because, you know, the number one thing you need to know is this: attorneys should always put the person's mind at ease when it comes to the performance they gave, unless there was a large blunder. And then you got to let the client know this was a large blunder. It may affect the outcome of the claim. Number two, what I like to go through is telling them, hey, look, you know, and, you know, I'm fair with them too. They'll ask me, well, how did I do? You know, I'll give them it was 50 out of 100. It was a 60 out of 100. It was a 99 out of 100. It was, you know, whatever. I'll give them a score on the thing and tell them these are the questions you did well on. You could have done a little bit better here, a little bit more improvement there, etc. The other thing that I like to go into is the vocational expert testimony. I like to go through specifically why the judge asked what types of limitations you as a hypothetical claimant, you know, would have to deal with those types of jobs. And that to me dictates what the outcome of the claim is going to be. And, you know, most of the time, I'd say 95% of the time, I know which way the judge is going to lean. Most attorneys, in my experience, will not share with the claimant which way the claim is likely to go after the hearing. I'm an idiot who does that. And let me explain why I'm an idiot for doing that. I will tell the claimant right after the hearing whether or not I feel they're going to get denied or approved. And I will be blunt and honest with them. And sometimes that blows up in my face massively. But nobody has ever claimed that I wasn't fair with them. No one has ever claimed that. I've had a lot of people say.
I appreciate what you do too. Yeah. When you ask you know, you actually, I think it was on this call when right before, maybe it was this call, you just asked them with the medical expert. But the questions that you ask are really the questions they ask. How far can you walk? You mean 30 to 40 feet? How long can they really do? And you have to be able to, you know, articulate it is the best way. And practicing, like I didn't really practice it with my lawyer, but she said, you know, she asked me the questions just as you did. And then she told me, okay, I really need you to work on this tonight with your husband, because my hearing has the next day, with someone, so that your responses are clear and concise. Because, and she, after the call, the lawyer did tell me, she's like, I could tell that you really, like, I had it all written down. So I think if anyone's having memory difficulties, as I did, having them in front of you written down, even on a piece of paper, to remind you, and so you're consistent with your testimony, even though we all know it's true, just being consistent. Because she came back a couple times with questions, and having it right in front of me was helpful. But having that representation help you through what questions are going to be asked is a big plus. I mean, even watching your videos, I'm like, I love this guy. I wish I watched him weeks and weeks ago, even though, you know, I'm glad I'm still watching him now. But,
you know, and here's the thing, too. Most of the judges will let you bring in a written piece of paper, since everything's telephonic, and we don't know when everybody's going back to hearings and everything, but most of these judges will let you bring in a piece of paper. If it's telephonic, they would never know if it was taped to the table anyways. But the point is, like, you know, I've had judges, though, and I got to tell you, I have had judges where the claimant will walk in with a piece of paper, they'll pull it out of their pants pocket or their purse, and it's this tiny little thing that's been folded over 1,000 times. By the time they open up, the book of Narnia pops out, and, you know, they put it down on the table, and the judge goes, no, from your mind. And then they put it away, and they die on the inside. And I will be honest, at each one of those hearings, I almost always get yelled at for doing what's called leading questions, which is where I put too much of the answer into the question.
Right.
And I'll tell you this, it's a big thing that I think the SSA hasn't gotten it. And nobody's gotten it. The VA benefits doesn't have it perfect. SSA doesn't have it perfect. Nobody has it perfect. But I think what they really need to improve upon is realizing how imperfect their client, because that's what you guys are to the SSA. You pay for them. You are their client. How imperfect their client is when it comes to being in a disabled state of mind and body, and then delivering consistently. Right.
And to answer questions, sometimes you're under the pressure and you're like, now you're thinking, okay, did I say 10 minutes? I know I can only walk 30, 40 feet, but, it's a lot of pressure, and then come back and you're like, okay, did I say I have to rest 5 minutes or did I say 10 minutes? Depending on how I'm feeling that day. But you have to be, I'm so glad I had the telephone hearing now because I was prepared because I know that my medication causes me drowsiness and sleepiness and sometimes fogginess. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And then if I'm not concise, am I going to be believable? So there's a lot of anxiety in that point too. So,
all right. So I have 3 questions for you now. Are you ready?
Oh boy. Okay, I'll try. I'll get my papers ready.
Okay. All right. When the judge asked the question about time off task, what time off task was given?
Oh, I can be more than 20% off task during the day, and it depends how much pain I'm in.
And how many days?
If I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. How many days did you go ahead and miss or would miss over a month?
It could be up to 3 to 4 days a month.
Okay. And
of work.
What were the things that you could only do occasionally?
Occasionally, lift. I can't lift more than 5 pounds, and only occasionally, and more than likely, I don't do it. I'll ask for help to do it. So she understood that point. But there was the standing for longer periods of time, or even sitting. Even though I'm doing sedentary work, if I sit more than 20 to 30 minutes, because I do have spondylolisthesis, I have an SI joint dysfunction that causes, I'm not thinking straight, to shoot down my leg, and then if I stand too long, my last 2 toes come down, and then you have to get off your feet, right? But you're sitting. So how do you get off your feet and sit? You gotta lie down, and there's no real place to lie down at work. And then even walking around, you can only walk around for so much, and then you're leaving your position, and then you're off task. You can't complete your project on time, your work on time. You can't stay focused because all you're doing is focusing on the pain. Like, she asked all those questions. She was, sorry, I interrupted you.
So here's what I would say, and that's good. That's all very, very good. All this considered 30% passage rate, judge, which means very low percent passage rate. Even if you get denied, realize it's not you, it is the system. It's just a judge with a low percent passage rate. What you may want to do is start looking up, which are called appeals council errors as to law and appeals council errors as to facts, which represent the grounds by which to do an appeals council review in front of an AAJ. And that would be your next study guide to go and look into. Now that's tougher. People don't usually do appeals counsel on their own because you have to write a brief that requires legal knowledge and writing, etc. And then the next step, you can't even have an advocate. Like, those places are like, we're a great disability advocate group and we are social justice advocates and blah, blah, blah. They are barred from going ahead and practicing at the federal district level. They can't even do it. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, and they certainly won't tell you, but they're barred because they're not attorneys. So I have an
actual attorney.
No, and that's good. That's very good. Start learning about appeals council potential review options, and then also look into essentially, what were weaknesses in the claim. I had this one claimant, really smart guy, really intelligent person. He was a NASA guy, so I mean, he had NASA imprinted on his analytical skull. So I remember the first question he asked me after the hearing was, he said, look, I'm going to tell you how I feel that went is not important. I need you to tell me specifically what you were unhappy with. And I walked him through it. And I walked him through it, and I went through all the details, about 30 minutes just going through all the things. I was like, God, I didn't like this. I thought this was a little odd, da, 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 da. And then he said to me, what do you think the judge was the most unhappy with? What do you think the vocational expert was the most unhappy with? What do you think? Yeah. And we went through each person and what they, on an emotional level, on a professional level, what they weren't happy with, what they didn't like, what didn't go well. And what I learned from that was that he was able to compartmentalize a jurisdiction for problems. He was able to take a spacecraft and say, okay, here's these problems in this bay and that bay and this bay, engine problems.
And how they can all add together to become a bigger problem.
Yeah, it was genius level stuff. Like his brain applied. It was amazing. We came to a conclusion. The conclusion was correct. But it was not a conclusion that I'd come to after the hearing. But ever since that hearing, I used that way of thinking. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I do appreciate all that you do. I'm sure everyone listening does too.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah,
I wish I watched you months ago. I wish I found you months ago. I kept finding another law firm, which did give good advice too.
I'm YouTube's best kept secret.
I know. I've been noticing that.
Yeah.
I try to just look for you like anonymous, and you don't come up. You came up, of course, after my hearing. What? Anyway, and I don't even know how, but I've been watching all your videos, and I wanted to say thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Madame, you have a wonderful, wonderful night, and I'll catch up with you at some point.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry it took so long. So much of your time.
Thank you so much. I'll catch you later.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Okay,
bye-bye. Okay, guys. So I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, which is no biggie, because I didn't have it for most of the week anyway, so no biggie. Anyways, I'll probably take one more phone call if you guys want to give me a call. Here it is. I want to point out something that I learned from the NASA guy, and I can't use their names. When they would do an application review of something, they looked at it it's hard to explain, but if you can imagine, all right, I'm going to break it down to my idiot level at the level at which they do things. When you go to crappy lunchrooms and they have a tray, and on the tray it's compartmentalized into different food areas, and you put this food here, this food there, this food there, this food there. And I never did that. I always mushed it together because I was a weirdo. But that was how they approached each problem. They would take categories and break down each section into bullet points. And then they'd have a metric in their head of how they would approach each one of those bullet points. And it was amazing. It was like a SWOT analysis. If you don't know what a SWOT analysis is, it's the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, basically a good list and a crap list, right, of what could potentially happen. And as a result of that, what I thought was really cool was that they would come up with decisions that were consistently better, that were different than I would come up with when I had finished something that I was working on with them. Now, that to me says they had better knowledge for fixing problems, which to me said all of my legal training, which uses a different system, issue, rule, analysis, conclusions, defenses, remedies. That's the legal system, right? Iraq doctor. First, you have an issue. The first issue is whether, the sky is blue. Then you have analysis. Well, in such and such case, they said the sky was blue. But in such and such case, they said the sky was kind of blue. Then you get to basically, the rule. Okay, the rule that we have, right? I'm not doing so well. Issue, rule, analysis, conclusion. Sorry. So the first thing is issue, sky blue. Is it whether this is sky blue? Rule. We know the rule is this, this, and this. Then we get to the analysis. This case said this, and then that case said that, and then this case said this, and in that case it's that. You just compare the rules. That's all you do. And then conclusion. You conclude, ergo, this is why I believe the sky is blue. Then you go to essentially your defenses and remedies, your DR. Defenses are essentially, what is somebody going to argue against this? Remedies. If somebody were to be right in all of this, what would they get? How much money? Jail time? Ownership of something? What's going to happen? What I realized was that system was actually kind of flawed compared to the NASA model. And the reason why I think the NASA model is better is that when approaching the rule analysis conclusion part, because we all get the issue part usually right. Lawyers and the NASA people were able to see the problem. That they share. But the rule analysis and the conclusion part, that's tough. And I think what they do a little bit better is they compartmentalize based off of a prior knowledge in manufacturing and engineering. They have a better understanding of how things work. The plane could be taken apart, and this is all the parts of the engine. So one of the things that I started to study more of was essentially diagrams where they would, create these, they call them blow up diagrams, where you would see all the parts that would make the thing. And what was interesting to me is that it opened up my mind to essentially this idea of breaking down the structured thing, not to just what everybody already thought before, which is case law. Like lawyers look at it as like established case law, that's what we go by. Established case law, that's what we go by. Then we have them fight, right? That's what lawyers do. And that is analysis. And then from that, a unicorn is born into a conclusion. But I don't think that's actually the best way to do it. I think product liability attorneys are a little bit smarter when it comes to essentially doing law. Instead of saying, here's established case law, what did they get right, what did they get wrong? Product liability attorneys, they take the entire product scenario situation and they pull that little sucker apart, just pin by needle, by nail, by whatever, and they lay it all out on the table. And they look at it and say, okay, this part here we think failed. But why did it fail in conjunction with all of these other parts? We got another call coming in, but I'll go into that later. Here we go. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live. Would you like me to go ahead and answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions? And remember, please use a fake name throughout this process. How can I help you?
I want to run some hearing questions.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So, level of difficulty. Do you want me to be super sweet and nice, like, a judge that just is so happy to see you? Or do you want me to be like the grumpiest judge that you've ever met that, was, just not having a good day?
Let's go middle of the road.
Oh, God. It's the middle of the road one. I don't get to have any fun then. I can't be super chipper. I can't be mean to you now. I guess we'll just have to go middle. All right. I'm clicking my heels on Dorothy's road. This is okay. All right. On this yellow brick road that we will travel, Madame, I'm going to have you state your fake name through this. What is your fake name?
Kelly.
Mrs. Kelly. Should it be Miss Kelly or Mrs. Kelly?
Mrs.
Mrs. Kelly. Can you explain to me what are your top 5 most severe disabling conditions?
Lupus nephritis. Lupus. I have cervical radiculopathy, lumbar radiculopathy. I have migraines. I have balance issues, memory issues. I think that's 5. Okay. I have a lot more, but that's 5.
All right, lupus, radiculopathy, migraines, balance issues, memory issues. I didn't hear anything about anxiety, panic attacks, depression, anything like that. Are there any mental impairments beyond? Okay, cool. All right, so walk me through this. So how long have you had the lupus, and when did it become severe?
I had symptoms since probably 2015, 14, but didn't get diagnosed through blood work until 2018. But I was diagnosed with undifferentiated connective tissue disease prior to that because I knew something was going on, but wasn't diagnosed until 2018.
Okay, what was the original question, though?
Well, I go in for a hearing next week.
Oh, no, I get that.
Nervous.
Yeah, no, okay, you're nervous. I gotcha.
My symptoms?
No, so with lupus, when did it start and when did it become severe? So I got the when it started part, but I didn't get the when it became severe part.
Well, through work, when it started getting severe, kind of was in probably 2019. I was starting to have some memory issues, and I had to read charts to do my work, and I started not being able to know what I read, and I would have to go back and forth instead of being able to read and concentrate with what I was reading. So it was taking me double and triple length of time to do my work, and that started more. That was probably even to 2017 that I knew that was going on. Then diagnosed. Then it just started getting worse because I asked my supervisor if she could take me out of an inpatient status and put me into an outpatient status because I just couldn't do that work any longer. So it really probably was 2017 that I knew something was, that it was started getting worse. And then
all right, I'm going to jump in real quick. What was the question about? Take your time.
When did I know it started getting bad?
When did you start having it, and when did it become severe? So I should have heard 2 dates, and then we get to the next question. Walk me through the lupus. When did it start? When did it become severe?
I would say by 2019 it was severe.
Okay. So by 2019, okay. So 2019 it became. So why do you believe in 2019 it became severe?
Because that's my world started crashing in. I knew that I started not being able to do the things I once did. I was pretty much starting to stay in because I was slow going out. If I went into a grocery store, I was too tired by the time I got out to the car. I'm slow. I couldn't keep up with people anymore. If I went to an amusement park with the family, I definitely wasn't riding rides anymore. And it took me too long to, I couldn't keep up even at that time. And I definitely, I just couldn't keep up with life anymore. I just couldn't keep up. I looked at everybody around me, at my age, I definitely shouldn't have been sitting in the house doing nothing.
All right, so let me jump in again real quick. Are any of these big questions or are these little questions?
These are little questions where I'm exaggerating.
So what you're
just going on and on.
You're story mode, and that's okay. That's good. Story mode people are easy to fix. The tough ones are people that answer yes and no and nothing else. And those are really, really friggin' hard to fix. But what you're doing, those types of claims are much easier to fix. So what we're going to be doing is each response to the following questions has to be a sentence or less. We're going to do them quickly. You're going to respond super quickly. Let's roll. Number one thing I need to do is go through the basics with you. Here we go. Here's the first question. Okay, perfect. Can you tell me what's your current age?
I am 55 years old.
Do you live in a house, a trailer, an apartment? What kind of dwelling do you live in?
I live in a house.
What's your most severe physical impairment?
I have back issues, and
just the one.
Probably
just the most severe.
That's the most severe. Probably is my back.
What's the medical condition called? Okay, what's the medical? Yeah.
It is lumbar stenosis and radiculopathy.
Excellent, excellent. Can you tell me when did the lumbar stenosis and radiculopathy when did it start and when did it become severe?
That all started in 2019, and
so you think it started, or it definitely started? Now, here's what a judge would do. If this were a more aggressive judge, I'm going to run it where I'm going to beat on you a little bit. So let's run it like that so you get used to that. So are you sure it was 2019? You don't sound very sure. I mean, this is your most severe impairment. Walk me through, when did this actually start?
It was 2019 that I had the pain, and then diagnosis actually came with an MRI, and that was in 2020.
So basically you knew medically in 2020, you thought there might be a problem in 2019. When did you file for disability benefits?
In 2021.
And when did you stop working?
In 2021.
And when did you stop going to theme parks?
2020.
Okay, so realistically, this thing became severe. Would you say 2021? Don't let me put words in your mouth. Don't let me put words in your mouth.
More like 2020 is when it started getting severe. I started going downhill.
Okay, understood. Can you tell me this? How do you define it being severe for you? What does that mean to you? Remember, one sentence.
I lost the life as I knew it for the last 50 years.
So, so that I fully understand this, you attribute to your life the excitement you had not being able to interact with your children the same way, theme parks, your job, etc. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you still have a driver's license?
I do have a driver's license.
Do you still own a car?
I do own a car.
Do you still have the ability to drive to medical appointments?
I do drive to local medical appointments.
When was the last time you were out of the county?
I have not drove out of the county myself in probably close to a year.
How far away is your local shopping facility, like a ShopRite, a Walmart, or whatever?
Like Walmart is probably 10 miles.
10 miles, okay. And how long does it take for you to shop at Walmart?
If I go into Walmart, it takes a long time because I'm very slow. I walk slow.
Now, how long? I mean,
if I go in and get out, it would take me, even if I only go in for like 10 items, I'd be in there for probably 30 minutes just to pick up those exact 10 items.
Okay, so can you help me out in understanding this? When you bring the items home, and you put them away, what do you do after that?
I honestly don't go to the store very often. I have delivery. If I go to the store, it's usually with my husband, and I don't carry the groceries in the house anymore. I might carry one item if I went to like a convenience store for like a bread or a milk. That's usually the limit for me.
Okay. So let me ask you this: what do you think is the most you can lift in a bag filled with groceries with your right hand?
With my right hand, I can lift a gallon of milk, just like to carry it across from the refrigerator to the counter, but I wouldn't carry it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't like carry 10 pounds very far.
Okay. So, I mean, you could carry 10 pounds, probably a little bit more than that. You put it away when you get home. I mean, then what do? Do you watch TV? Do you have a side job? What do you do?
I do not have any side jobs. I do have a frozen shoulder in my left shoulder also. So my left arm, I don't use I think I don't use my left arm very much at all. But I do, what I do at home is usually odd things and I rest, and odd things and I rest, because I do get extremely fatigued with the lupus. So I will use, like, they have laminate floors, and I use a Swiffer.
Sure.
Like a Swiffer mop thing. So it weighs like a pound. So I will, like, Swiffer the floors one room at a time, and then it's usually a break. And then I'll Swiffer another room at maybe. It just depends. But I usually try to do something every day. I don't not do anything, but I do try to Swiffer the floors. I do try to do some dishes. I don't make the beds at all anymore. I don't my husband has to do that, and like I don't when I do the sheets, my husband, he does all the bedding. That's just like with my left arm, I can't take the bedding off, and I can't like put it back on. So he has to do the bedding. And what else do I do? I do the Swiffer. I have a Swiffer for dusting, a little.
All right, so I gotta cut you off. You need a ton of work. This hearing's in like a week?
Yeah.
All right. Who's your? Don't tell me the name of the attorney or the firm, but you're being represented, correct?
I am being represented. I have long-term disability from my former employer, and they have it's a group. Can I say the group or not say the group?
I mean, it's totally up to you. I mean, it's up to you.
It's an ALSUP group.
Well, ALSUP isn't usually an attorney. That's usually a group that then hires an attorney specifically for a hearing once a hearing comes up.
Okay, so that is who is representing me.
Yeah, the way ALSUP works, at least the way they interacted with me, is that and I didn't go with their program, but basically the way they do things is, they'll usually, when a hearing gets set, they'll go find a local attorney and then pay them a fee to go to the hearing and do the hearing. And that's ALSUP is basically the group that most insurance companies send clients to go fight for disability benefits. Now, may I pose to you a couple of questions? No judgment here.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
The attorney that was hired to do this hearing for you, have you spoken with them more than once up to this point?
Not at all.
Not at all. The attorney that you have for this upcoming hearing, did they send you any preparation videos or any forms to fill out or anything at all to teach you what to say for the hearing?
Not at all. I found you last week.
Oh my goodness. All right. I'm not saying you have to change attorneys. I'm a big advocate of people staying with the attorney when they're so close to it. Like if your hearing is a month away, like you're kind of like you're locked in for that. Some people are smart and they'll get a different attorney and they'll put the hearing off for a couple of months, just to find a new attorney. Some people are dumb doing that because it just depends on what your situation is. But ma'am, I would say this. Write down these 5 questions, and then I'm going to call it a night for myself because I'm super sick. This is actually the first night where I've been up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 10 o'clock for the entire week up to this point. I was sick and couldn't function. But I had a hearing this morning that had to be rescheduled because I couldn't even talk properly. But yeah, through the magic of medication at the dosage amount, I've been able to do this. I kind of did it. I screwed up the whole intro where I wanted to do this beautiful walkthrough of VA history, but I screwed that up. But anyway, the point is, write down these 5 questions because you need to have these mastered before you basically can do the little stuff. So here's question number 1. What are your top 5 most severe disabling conditions? And Shirley, I always pronounce the last name improperly. Thank you for the donation. Thank you. She donated $1.99. So you gave me basically, so balance issues, memory issues. I need to know what they are a result from, because those are symptoms of basically an impairment, but that's not the actual impairment.
It probably is from the lupus, but they can't be sure. I do have MRIs. I have a brain mapping. I have all of this backed with, like my brain mapping showed I do have, I have focal impairment, and like I do have a problem focusing. And it probably is lupus. I do have lesions in my brain that with the white matter, it's probably from lupus.
Mm-hmm.
I do have kidney nephritis that is lupus. That one is lupus. And I do have MRIs of my lumbar spine and MRIs of my cervical spine, and all of it shows a lot of issues in my spine area, both cervical and I've had lumbar injections for both areas. I have the frozen shoulder, and that's from inflammation, which could be from the lupus. But and I've been to the nephrologist, the neurologist, the endocrinologist because I have thyroid nodules. I've been to the hematologist because I have anemia that is probably from the lupus, and I have neutropenia that is from all the lupus medication that I just had to go off of because of low white counts. And well, I didn't just have to, but I've changed medication from the lupus. So I have all kinds of issues with documentation. So I don't know what else. You know what I mean? I've been to so many doctors that they just keep sending me to more doctors. So, okay, I'm just talking. I'm wasting your time. You need to.
So I'm going to make a big recommendation here. For your own happiness, I would highly recommend putting off the hearing to get your current attorney to be more interactive with you, or to pick a different attorney. It doesn't even sound like if you have all the evidence in, if it's been all collected, if basically there's anything that they can't get, because there's a lot of medical facilities that just won't send it out, and then the SSA has to subpoena it. So it's like I don't even know if the basic stuff is ready for your claim. If an opening statement has been written, if a brief has been submitted, I don't even know what's going on with it. So I would, and you only have a week.
Yeah.
This is too important to roll the dice. You know what I mean? Like, you've been waiting a while. So I would, I mean, and I always say this to people, go find somebody. Doesn't have to be me. Go find somebody who can basically do this better for you, that you feel happy with, that you can work up the claim with, and then go from there. Because and I mean, I'll just say it. I know a lot of people that are in this all-sup situation, and some of them are happy, some of them are very unhappy. But the thing that is always an issue that I tend to find, and I'm not saying anything bad about all-sup because they're distanced from it. They hire on an attorney specifically to handle it. But in the regard of the hearing level. But I will say this: I run into a lot of people who have issues with being connected to what's going on with their claim. And the problem with that is that it's not like, hey, just a quick update thing. It's like, and I think that's one of the big things here that I want to point out with this situation, and I'll make it very short. Getting disability benefits is not I hired an attorney and then boop, it's magically done. Those years died 7 years ago. The boop magically done era, that's over. 7 years ago, that died. 5 years ago, it was the little bit of interaction, make it happen. Now we're into the modern day. The rules are heavily different. Commissioner Saul changed a bunch of stuff. It's so much harder to make a dollar in the disability field because it's just so much harder to basically get a claim through, which is why a lot of places are leaving the disability field in total. It just financially doesn't make sense to do these claims anymore because it's just too small amount of money to the representative. But I would say this, you should probably go ahead, if you haven't even spoken with that attorney yet, go ahead and call the local hearing office where your hearing, will actually be, and say, hey, look, I want to put my hearing off while I go find another attorney that I can interact with, and then basically go from there. I would say this too. These are the 5 questions. I'm just going to go right through them real quick because I'm losing my voice again. But the top 5 most severe impairments, that's number 1. The top 5 most severe impairments. Number 2, when did each impairment start? When did each impairment become severe? When did each impairment start? When did each impairment become severe? Number 3, what are 2 symptoms per each impairment? What are 2 symptoms per each impairment? Number 4, what medications are you taking? What side effects do you get? So what medications are you taking? What side effects do you get? Number 5, what are the jobs you've worked, like $3,500 or more that you've earned over the past 15 years, 2007 forward, that basically, I'm losing my voice, I can feel it happening, that essentially, that you essentially worked at, earned more than $3,500 at, and as a result of that, basically have some skills that you achieve throughout the process of that. So the point is, get those questions going. Those are the basics. And then start to build up the top 50 trick questions, the 200 most common questions, and then call up and then have somebody like me or somebody else beat you up with the tough question. Like, here, one of the big things that my brain, when you said theme parks, my brain, as like the instigator of questions that are difficult, just had a Christmas tree pop up. Every light went on in it, and I was like, I'm gonna have fun now, you know, because I'm gonna be like, no, I'm gonna go after the pictures that you posted online of you smiling. I'm gonna go after how many parks that you've been to over the past 5 years. I'm gonna go to, what were the types of things that you're able to do? What were the rides you enjoyed the most? Like, that was Christmas right there. For an aggressive judge or even a middle ground judge, that was Christmas. And so Joyce W, thank you so much for donating $1.99. But anyways, just so basically you can start working on that. I would definitely put the hearing off, find a different attorney, and then basically go from there. Because I don't think, look, if you haven't talked to your attorney and your hearing is a week away, that's scary.
It's on February 3rd.
Oh God, that would just scare the hell out of me because a lot of people think they're saving money when they don't get like a disability attorney, but what they don't realize is that the wait is much longer if they don't make good arguments, or if they do have a crap attorney that they need to switch and that they can switch. And it's just like, there's no good fix to basically being part of the process to win a disability claim. I have some claimants who call me up and they scream at me. They're like, I don't want to fill out any forms. I just want you to figure it out. And I'm like, then this won't work. Go sign up with one of those big box firms where they never call you or do anything, because this is not going to work. Because I send out tons of forms. I got to know everything about you, your academia, any penal institutions, prisons. I got to know everything, and And if I could say anything to the people that are still logged in right now, it looks like there's 55 people in the chat. It is that this process is not where you get to sit back and drink out of a big sippy cup and wait for the approval letter to come. This process is like going to the dojo of disability and having the person that's teaching you how to say certain things a certain way, work with you of what you should request from your doctors, explain to you what the statute is looking for, explain to you why the judge is going to come at you from this direction. That's what this process is. It's not having an attorney and then a week before the hearing. I mean, okay, so when is this attorney supposed to call you?
Sometime within the next week. They said about a week before the hearing, he would call me.
Awesome. Super dude.
Because I called them to see if they had got all the medical records, and they couldn't tell me because I asked the Social Security, and I actually called and I asked my doctor's office if Social Security had got my new records, and they said nobody had requested them. I actually got them and took them in. Our local office is open on Mondays to hand deliver stuff, and I actually took them into the office and dropped them off so they would have them. And then I emailed them to also, because I also Patton requested them, nor the Social Security, and it was for an appointment that was on December 21st. And they knew I had the appointment because I had called and told them, and that was just last Monday that I had taken them. Whatever, it was a Monday that I took them in, but the office had told me that nobody had requested any record, so I went and got that office visit and took it in.
All right, so you know what your plan is at this point, because you gotta you gotta have a better strategy going into a hearing. You know, to wait years to be able to sit in that chair is just not a good situation, especially if you're an LTD recipient, because remember, a lot of the benefits you receive back pay get sucked into LTD benefits, so you don't really get to have back pay the same way. And they are hungry for you to win benefits, which never made sense to me, because they'd always send people to attorneys that would accept this small amount of money to do the hearing, and then that small amount of money didn't equate to a good, proper representation, which is why I would sit back with that situation and think to myself, this is not going to render the best product, but anyways, I've seen people happy with Allsup too. It goes up and down. There's people that are happy with me and not happy with me, just like any other group. I have to be fair and neutral and say this pendulum swings both ways. I've had people blow up at me because I questioned them too hard and then they popped, and that happens too. But everything is a learning experience with this stuff. That's why we call medicine and law the practice of it, because every day we're adding to we're not going to do that again pile, but anyways, keep working it. Work on those 5 questions. Get a hearing postponed if you want to. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and I'll catch you a little bit later if I ever catch up with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, so what I'm probably going to do is, I'll post the video after this, keep it rolling. It was the first night that I could actually talk. In the beginning of the day, I couldn't even talk. I'm on real medication now, because I can't show you that because it's got all the info on it. But I finally got the doctor stuff, the real meds. So I'm starting to feel better. But anyways, guys, I will catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful night, and we'll go from there. Thank you for hanging in with me while I was so sick. I'll catch you a little bit later, though. Keep rocking it. Thank you, guys. All righty. Bye-bye.